Hello, everybody. So, besides the scientific names, which comprise the genus and species, as well as authority, you also have common names or vernacular names, which can be in English, Afrikaans, Zulu, Venda, Sotho, Bedi, etc. How a plant gets its common name will depend on the language, culture, and tradition. In general, a plant's common name comes from one of three places: its morphology, its locality, or its use. Most English and Afrikaans names are based on morphology, and occasionally you have plants that are named after a locality or a geographical location. Most Zulu names of plants are based on the use and morphology, and occasionally you have names that are based on locality. I'll go through each of the three things that I've mentioned in detail. It's morphology. So when I talk about morphology, I'm referring to the biology of the plant, so its form and structure. And this includes things like appearance, the color, the size, the odor or the smell, the taste, and behavior. And morphology can be talking about the internal or the external parts of a plant. So, an example of the appearance, there's a plant called Xanthosylum capensis, and this tree gets its name based on its appearance. So in English, the plant is called knobwood, and in Zulu, the plant is called amabele. And this is because of the large cone-shaped knobs on the tree that resemble a woman's breast, or amabele ntombi, which are a maiden's breast. The plant is also called mlungumabele, which refers to a white woman's breast. A plant can get its common name based on the color of either the leaves, the fruits, the bark, or the roots or bulb. For example, amabomvu is a perennial herb known scientifically as Eleutheran bulbosa, and it got the name ababomvu from the fact that it has a red bulb that resembles red onion. The red bulb is used to treat menstrual pains and high blood pressure, just to name a few. Any plant that includes the suffix names like elincane or elikhulu indicates the size of the plant species within a genus. For example, iboza elincane indicates the type of iboza, and it tells you that this type of iboza is smaller than the average in that genus. You also have ibuta elikhulu, which tells you that this type of ibuta is bigger than the average in that genus. You also have iqena elikhulu and iqena elincane, which tell you the size of these type of aloes in that genus. You also have idangabane elincane, dangabane elikhulu. Same thing, they tell you the size of the species in that genus. You also have ibuya elincane and ibuya elikhulu. Just to note, with regards to the size, it doesn't mean that the tree is larger or smaller. In some cases, it could be that the leaves are larger or smaller. It could also mean that the flowers are larger or smaller. It could mean the roots are larger or smaller. It doesn't necessarily mean the tree itself is larger or smaller. It could mean like the different parts of a tree are either larger than the average size or smaller than the average size. So when it comes to plants that get their names based on smell, the best example is unukane. Unukane is scientifically known as Ocotea bullata. In English, it's called stinkwood. And this plant gets its name based on the smell of the plant when it is cut. So the name unukane means what are you smelling? And this is because of the tree's bad smell. Same thing with the English word stinkwood means bad smell. The Zulu name Imbilikicane ebabayo is given to the plant scientifically known as Chenopodium morale. The leaves of this plant are eaten as a leafy green, and the leaves have a very bitter taste, hence the name ebabayo. Ibukenyakato is an evergreen tree that is scientifically known as Vepris lanceolata. This plant grows on the coastal and riverine forest areas, and it always faces or leans northward or towards the north, hence the name. So it's named after a behavior. So Ibugenyagato means north facing or facing northward. This tree is used as a protective charm against umkovu. The roots are used to treat infertility in women. The leaves and twigs are used to make herbal teas, and the leaf extract are used to make essential oils. So that's it for the morphology. So I've mentioned the 6 things that I used to determine the morphology, which is the appearance, the color, the size, the smell, the taste, and the behavior. I've also mentioned that the common names come from the locality or the habitat. Besides the morphology, plants can be named after the geographical location or a particular habitat. For example, you have a plant that's called ingwavuma, which is scientifically known as Elidendron transvalensis. And this plant is named ingwavuma because it grows in a particular place in Zululand called ngwavuma. You also have another plant called umgudlatugela, which is Agemone mexicana. And this plant gets its name because it grows along the Tugela River. You also have umgudlumgeni, which grows along the Umgeni River. You have umgudlumfula and amabelumfula, which are also plants that grow near water streams. That's it for the habitat. You also have plants that are named after their uses. Most plants will typically fall in this category, especially Zulu names. For example, Abangqongqosi, which means knocking on the door. So this plant gets this name because it's used as a love charm. The bark is used to make an infusion that is said to knock on the doors of the lost lover to cause them to remember you. You also have umganu, which is derived from the name ukugana, which means to get married. So the bark of this tree is typically used by people that want to get married. So the plant is used as a love charm emetic. You also have ibohlololo, or umjuluka. Ibohlololo is derived from the word ibohla, which means to calm or deflame, and this is because the plant is used as an anti-inflammatory plant, so it's used to reduce inflammation in the body. The plant is also called umjuluka, which is derived from the word juluka, which means to perspire or to sweat. So this plant is also used as an antiperspirant. You also have plants that are known as ichitamuzi or idungamuzi, and these plants are used to break up a family or a home, a marriage, or to cause someone to abandon their family, their home, or their marriage. You also have Twaningi. Twaningi means to research, and these plants are usually used. It's actually a group of plants. It's not just one plant, but one plant that is typically known is Caparis tomentosa. But you have a list of plants that have the name Itwaningi, and they're typically used for divination purposes. You also have a plant named Iflamashini. Flamashini means aeroplane, and this plant is usually used as a substitute for marijuana. So it's used to get high, hence the name Flamashini, because every time you use it, you feel like you're flying. That's it for this video. What I wanted to highlight was just the three ways in which plants get their names. So they get their names based on morphology, location, and use. KZN is a very big province. It has one of the largest populations in South Africa. And because of this, you typically have a high number of vendors, and the different vendors will have different names for the same plant. So you'll find that one plant has 20 different Zulu names, and all these names are based on their uses. So the same plant can be used for 20 different things, and it might have 20 different names. So it's always important to know scientific names, even though you know the common name, but most plants tend to share common names. So it's always important to know scientific names first before you know the common name. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed day and